No sense in straying when we're all invested. So let's talk about the 4th and 5th episodes of The Last of Us on HBO. To begin, we'll get into what TV and movies we can recommend of late, and then we'll talk about those episodes of The Last of Us.
Alabama take projection.
Here are our hosts who help us sort through what's good and bad and what they think. First up, he helped recruit Jalen Hurts to Alabama. It's Mr. Adam Morrow.
It's true. I said, Jalen, we need you. Practice squad member to get ready for Deshaun Watson. Came on board. The rest is history.
Up next, he's the man who has put NPR on the map. It's Donovan Ronwall.
Great to be here, Blaine.
See?
Donovan, I'm sick of you and your driveway stories. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear your fundraisers anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of your liberal bias.
I didn't say I produced anything. I just put it on the map.
Lastly, it's only a matter of time before she can reveal that she's a Grammy voter. It's Natalie Morrow.
I wish.
Well, Beyonce won.
Not enough. She won. She's now the winningest ever, but she should have gotten more.
Most nominated, most winningest, most bestest. Well, we don't really have a singular focus for our first bit of business, but I am interested in what you've all been watching or listening to lately, or reading even so far.
All right, I'm gonna have to go with reading.
Reading.
I've been watching The Last of Us, but I skipped out to read. I skipped out on other media consumption to read. It Happened in Boston.
Now you went up at the end there. Was that?
Yeah, it's because there's a question mark.
Okay, that was going to
It happened in Boston.
Is that referring to that scene of the countryside, quote unquote, 10 miles outside Boston in Last of Us?
No, it refers to a great line in the book where the narrator says, "Who could believe that such things could happen in Boston?" And it is about it's pretty good. It's first person unreliable narrator who's a genius artist, but is also completely unbalanced and wants to meet God and kill him.
It's Adam Morrow.
Oh, I was about to say, I've already read The Sound and Fury.
Thumbs up?
I would give it a thumbs up. It's not easily categorizable.
I got you.
Sometimes it feels like it's 3 different stories thrown into one, but the strength of the narrator's voice keeps it pretty consistent because the narrator is that artist who's having a breakdown, basically.
Is it a pretty new novel?
1963, I think.
Oh, whoa. No. Okay. I've just never heard of it. That's good, man.
Yeah. It also has the added benefit of being pretty funny. Like that just with the way the narrator's observations or comments about people are often quite funny. There's a bit where he's like, "I only have one ambition, just one, to be God."
We've all been there.
I would give it a thumbs up. Modern Library reissued it in 2003, I think. So,
okay.
Copies are not. I don't have the 61 or the 63 or whatever it is version. I have the Modern Library version.
I got you.
So, copies of it are obtainable.
Adam, what's been on your plate?
Natalie, I guess we'll answer this one together. The most recent new, quote unquote, new piece of film or television that we've watched is a little movie called Narvik. Am I saying that right, Nat?
I think so.
Narvik.
Is that German?
Norwegian.
It's a World War II flick, which we are drawn to like moths to a flame. Tells the story. This is 1940 that we're dealing with, and they claim it is Hitler's first defeat. But it happening at the very, very close to the outset of the war, I guess.
It happened in Boston?
It happened in Boston, very close to the outset of World War II. But there's,
Is this a Netflix movie?
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to check.
Norwegian made, so it's all subtitles, so you gotta do a little reading. But it was good. It not only does the World War II thing, but really lives in the gray area of like the morality of war. Even in, World War II is usually presented as like the most black and white, like, yeah, let's go shoot the Nazis kind of thing, which is, it gets a little more complicated than that, I guess.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
3 reviews.
As far as the reviewers, there's 5 whole reviews.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's just one of those that the story was very good, and I thought the acting was very good, and it's beautiful to look at because it's in northern Norway on the coast. But maybe the editing kept it from being like a full on A,
Yeah.
somewhere more in the B territory. Where would you rank it now?
Yeah, I think B is fair. Like maybe like an 88% for me.
Okay, I would
So
go like 84.
Mm,
so
I'm
mid
nicer
to
than you.
mid range to strong B.
Yeah,
Are you guys tough graders?
I'm not.
I feel like I'm very good at not saying something's an A, but also very bad at downgrading things as low as they should be, unless I just like full on hate them.
Yeah, you stick in
Oh
the
yeah.
median, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. It's either going to be 3 or 5 stars. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean, other than that, we've just been watching the final of the challenge for, well, it feels like most of this calendar year.
it does feel like most of this calendar year. Yeah,
We also had the new Yola Tango came out. I'm
Ah, it's
listening
very
to
good.
that.
tell me
Yeah.
more because you were raving about it as upon its release, Adam and Natalie. You can expand on that.
I mean, I've listened to it twice through. I'm not going to be able to speak intelligently about it, especially in this crowd. I can tell you that I enjoyed it, and it was exactly what you want from a Yola Tango release. It wasn't necessarily anything new or inventive from them, but it was great. I liked it.
Yola Tango has never gotten their hooks in me. So what am I missing?
Oh
Maybe
man.
just listening to them enough. Is that it? Because I've heard 3 or 4 songs.
I mean, their discography is dense,
Yeah.
you know, and like there's with bands like that, you almost have to find like once you decode them via a record that you click with, then everything else starts to make sense. So I would think that maybe like and then nothing turned itself inside out or Electro Pura is probably your entry point, but
Is that the one with the house on the front?
yes. Yeah, that was like 90, 97, 98. Does that sound right, Donovan?
That sounds right. After I can hear the heart beating is one.
Also very good. A lot of people are saying this new one is their favorite since I'm Not Afraid of You and I Will Beat Your Ass, Kick Your Ass. What is it?
I think it's beat your ass. I think you
Yeah,
got it right.
which is a fantastic record. I'm partial to Fade, though. Fade came out in the early 2010s,
Uh-huh.
and
That one's good.
I'll ride with that one. But this one's very good.
This one made me think of what Adam said the other week, where it's like there's a difference between bands who jam and jam bands, and
Yo La Tango jams.
Giola Tango definitely jams, and they jam a lot on this album in a good way.
I love when people don't want to admit that they probably could like the Grateful Dead, you know, but they love like a Yo La Tengo or somebody like that. It's like you know that they cover the Dead all the time at their like the back doors into the jam band via bands who jam scene is a good time.
Giola Tango is like the marijuana of jam bands. It's a gateway drug.
It is like what if you found out that the Velvet Underground also jammed because they
Well,
did.
I was gonna say, what isn't that what Sister Ray is?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's something that I might want to pump the brakes on. I won't say a lot because we could cover it in a couple of weeks. Apple TV Plus show Shrinking. You're
Shrinkage.
not Shrinkage. That's a Seinfeld episode, I think.
Ah, right.
Yeah. Now you're Shrinking on Apple TV Plus, starring Jason Segel and Jessica Williams and Harrison Ford. I will say this: your mileage may vary on 2 things are going to be determining how much bandwidth that you have for the show. It's how much do you stomach Jason Segel running around like a buffoon, and do you like your shows with or without Arcade Fire? Is it like so? Where are you on those? And then if you pepper in the notion that you get a lot of Harrison Ford at his most grizzled and grumpiest, just cussing people out. That,
And
yeah, exactly. That was the selling point for me.
It's like a late night appearance on Letterman. You know, he
Yeah,
shows up
almost.
drunk and belligerent.
Yeah, or high. I think he smokes a lot of marijuana. Also, Servant on Apple TV Plus is back for its last season. It's out there, but I just love that show for how much the camera tells so much of its story, and it's gotten insane, but I still love it. Kind of, it's weird. It's an M Night Shyamalan production, and
Boo.
It shows, but also it doesn't show. Yes.
Blaine, I have a Shyamalan question for you.
Yeah.
Are you going to see Knock on the Cabin Door?
Man, I really want to, and it's like Natalie and I mentioned last week, getting to the theater is sort of cumbersome, it seems like. Since COVID, I guess, it just seems like a chore almost. I can't get myself to the theater, but I would love to go see that movie.
I can't wait till that movie comes on FX.
Hey,
I cannot wait. But I'm not going to pay money to see it.
Either way, I'll watch it.
I'm torn because I did like the source material. It looks interesting, but also I've been hurt before, you know?
Yeah.
I've read all the spoilers. You will be hurt.
Well, I read the book, but apparently it ventures a little away from the book. I can also recommend one last thing, unless you guys have more. The 1619 Project is airing. Actually, it probably just wrapped on Hulu. It's good stuff. It's well done, insightful. I don't think any of the information in it's going to surprise the four of us, but it's still pretty good stuff.
Did y'all listen to that podcast when it came out?
The first episode I did. I do want to read the book, though. There's also a book accompaniment, which I'm very eager to read, but it's pretty big. It's like 600 pages.
It's a bunch of different essays, too, so you can kind of dip in and out.
I may check it out then. It's at our local library, so I picked it up yesterday, but just didn't go with it. I went with another book called Tender Is The Flesh. Have any of you heard of this?
No.
From a South American author. It's been translated in the last couple of years. It's a 2017 book, I think, and then it got translated in 2020 about, the premise is on the first page, dystopian sort of thing where animals, you can't eat animals anymore, and so people have turned to eating people and breeding people for us. Yeah, I know.
Why? Because if you can't eat meat,
You're right.
logically,
Right.
the lengths we go to avoid a vegetable.
Right, exactly. No, that's it. No, that's this point, I think. But it's told with such concise, straightforward, almost scientific language that it's just disturbing. I'm really interested in it. I'm only 4 chapters in, but it's really good so far, and it's got good reviews. Tender is the flesh. Yeah, and I can't remember the author's name.
I can Google it.
I can't remember. That's definitely the title, though. So look it up, read it if you want, and talk to me about it.
Agustina Bastarrica.
Yeah, she had a very long last name. I would probably butcher it, so that's probably as good as it would get. Let's do this. Let's take a break, and then we'll dissect. We got a couple episodes to dissect of The Last of Us if we so wish. That's what we'll do. Okay, we're back. We got lucky this week with The Last of Us because they released the 5th episode, Endure and Survive, on Friday of last week. So they wouldn't go head to head with Super Bowl on Sunday. What we'll do here is talk about episode 4 and 5 as needed. We're going to spoil both. Not a lot of setup to do since we've been talking about it for a few weeks. So if you haven't watched 4 or 5, you may want to come back when you're all caught up. We will spoil beginning now. So, I did not know that Mandy Moore's dad got burned up in a fire in this episode.
No, it was her husband.
Her husband. And then their kids, and then they adopted the black kid. And Adam does not get this joke at all.
It's not registering at all, but Natalie's enjoying it.
That's okay. Neither are any of our listeners don't get it either.
Yeah, so. Our listener. Well, we might have a listener. I'm making a joke that This Is Us rather than The Last of Us.
Oh, okay.
That's the plot of. I think it was the plot of This Is Us.
Yeah, you got burned up in a fire.
Yeah, I knew that. It was
downer.
Oh, it's a bummer.
And everybody threw out their crock pots.
Yeah, because is that how the fire started? The crock pot was
a
turned
faulty
on?
crock pot.
Shit, I'll never cook another crock pot meal ever. Okay, no, but back on
for the first time.
For the first time ever, I never. I like to think of myself as the type of guy who can admit when he's wrong, and I was wrong last week about The Last of Us. I said that the 3rd episode, long time, I thought that it was really good because I felt that the show needs a break from Ellie and Joel. But my premise was that those two characters could get stale, but I don't think so, because in episode 4, I was wrong. Bella Ramsey has this balance of funny and teenage annoyance just enough that works to be realistic, but also humorous and endearing. I think her portrait of Ellie pairs well with Pedro Pascal. And, the evidence I can give is they were stuck in a car together there for a while in the first half of that episode, and they were pretty funny. I can recount the part where he says, "Take a nap. We're going to be in the car for a long time," and she says, "I'm not tired," and then you immediately see her fall asleep. It's like that.
They
That's a
jump
kid.
cut to the
Yeah, the good jump cut. It sounds kind of boring on paper putting them in the car together like that, but I'm seeing their chemistry grow, and I'm really digging it just between the two of them, especially when they're kind of half joking, half serious.
I mean, that car ride really had everything.
Go on.
It had a bunch of heavy military, ruined vehicles,
Uh-huh. Oh
nap,
yeah, I forgot about the
napping.
I forgot about the pornography.
What more do you need?
Bella Ramsey's delivery of I just want to see what all the fuss is about.
How does he
It's
walk
great.
around with that thing?
Yeah.
And then the the fifth episode, which we can kind of talk about them both at the same time. At the end of the fourth episode and all in the fifth, they're in Kansas City, which brings me to two questions. Is Patrick Mahomes alive? And wouldn't it be an infinitely better episode if it was him fighting to help his tone deaf brother Jackson survive? Rather than
He's not deaf.
he's not deaf,
He keeps trying to make dance videos and
he's just tone deaf.
compromising their hiding. Yeah.
Y'all, that may be the best joke I've ever offered on this show. So
That was great.
no, it would be kind of cool if there was a Kevin Costner movie, The Postman. Did anybody see this besides me?
I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it.
So I saw it twice in the theater.
Good
I
lord.
saw it twice. I'm not kidding.
You really like Kevin Costner.
There's a story, but I won't get into it. But the point is, at the end of The Postman, spoiler alert for a movie that's 30 years old, he runs into Tom Petty, and it's Tom Petty playing Tom Petty in the post-apocalypse. And Kevin Costner's like, "Don't I know you?" Or I think that Tom Petty pulls that line on him because he's become semi-famous in the apocalypse. He says, "Don't I know you?"
That's pretty good. I mean, that's like Bill Murray being in Zombieland. That was a good time.
Yeah, but even better because they never call Tom Petty Tom Petty. He's just like,
Gotcha.
he's just leading a city, and everybody's following him, and they're like, they never call him my name's great. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes, if he would show up in The Last of Us, throw a grenade or something, that would have been cool.
I bet. How far you think he could throw a grenade?
Pretty far, right?
Quarter mile.
I
don't know. You see those mountains over there?
So the casting really appears to be loving playing with typecast because Melanie Linsky, I think her name is, she's a pretty sinister leader of the resistance in Kansas City, and sometimes she's known for playing a very chill, down-to-earth sister figure, housewife figure, not a very menacing. I think she's got a couple, maybe one other role where she's a little more menacing, but this is pretty intense, some moments there.
Yeah, she's pretty.
She was good.
She's pretty scary at some points, especially like I thought she did a really good job on the part where she's like, my brother asked me to forgive, but what's the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of terrifying.
I mean, did you guys see?
And people listen to her.
Did y'all see any of the stuff about some like model made some Twitter comment about how they didn't believe that she couldn't with her body type, like being post-apocalyptic, whatever. And her response was just, "I'm the leader. I'm smart. I don't have to be strong."
Like, yeah, it was Adrian Curry, I think.
Yeah,
Adrian Curry from VH1 days. That's the only reason I know her is because in the late 90s, VH1 reality. And I bet that's how Natalie knows her too.
I did what?
She's our resident.
Watched a lot of Top Model.
I didn't watch Top Model. I watched the other one she was on. What was it? The VH1
Life.
House. Yes.
And then she was on the spinoff I Want to Marry Brady or whatever it is.
It's kind of telling that we never see Arrowhead Stadium at any point. What's up with that?
What if it's just full of bodies?
It probably is.
It could very well be.
Based on what we've seen of this world so far, you're probably right.
It might be a moment of game versus show, but the gravity of the relationship I thought was going to be much heavier between Henry and Sam. I thought Henry was his young dad, like he had him at a very young age, and now he was tasked with protecting him. But brothers, very, very similar emotional attachment. But I don't know why I thought. I guess because I am a dad, and I always try to. I don't try to, but it naturally comes as a lens to look at things that when I see a dad trying to protect a kid, it's pretty irrelevant. Excuse me, it's pretty relevant to me emotionally.
Well, it would have been a nice, like in the episodes where it seems like Joel is kind of turning a corner for taking the dad responsibility. That would have been an easy, maybe too easy, a mirror for them to run into.
I think that might have been the thing, is that why they didn't do that, and it's probably in the game as such, from my understanding.
I guess they made the choice to make Sam deaf. I thought was really, kind of makes Henry's protectiveness of him make even more sense, because he's his lifeline to the world. Because at first I thought it was a father-son duo too, but then when he reveals he's his brother, it still kind of makes sense, because he's the only way. He's really not the only way, but he's one of the only ways that Sam can communicate with the world and find out what's going on.
I never understand why in shows or movies, in these like post-apocalyptic zombie infestation, whatever the hell, where there's so much strategy to being quiet, why everybody hasn't learned sign language.
Good point. Good point.
Like, there's a really easy way to communicate here, guys.
All the ASL translators got eaten.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
There's still books in the library.
Had he survived, he would have been a boon to them, having learned that. I like those two characters a lot. They did a lot more for me maybe than the Bill and Frank character. We talked about how you only get a couple of characters that are used for this particular amount of time and then they're gone. Seems to be the case for this show. We're gonna have I forget what was her name, Tess. She was there for basically an episode and a half. You got the Bill and Frank duo. They were there for one episode. You get Henry and Sam, who are there for basically one episode. That's going to get old if they do that again. But this one really had an impact. I thought it was sad.
Do you think that is this just coming? You said it was more affecting to you than Bill and Ted. Do you just think that's because you have the
not Bill and Ted?
I'm sorry, Bill and Fred. Excuse me,
Frank.
I can't remember anyone's name.
Patrick and Jackson.
But do you think that's just because like it was hitting those dad triggers for you?
Well, you find out that they are, especially when Henry gets in the light. You can see exactly how young he is, and he might have been too young to be a dad of a kid that age. It just hits familial beats that I found. It might have been a little bit on the trope side of things, but I think that the emotional resonance is that it was mirroring Joel and Ellie, and that you see Ellie act like a kid rather than a teenager, and you just have these innocent moments, and that to me is effective for pathos, because I just don't want kids to be stripped of their innocence way too early. That to me always has a gut punch.
That totally makes sense to me. There's a movie called Come and See, which is it's about World War II. It's one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. It's really good.
Yes, I want to see this so badly, and I've never found it.
It's not just misery porn though. Like there's a bit where there's bits where the kids who are like teenagers have moments where they are happy and free and relaxed, and the contrast just makes what happens all the worse, because that they could be happy.
Yeah, I do, which brings me to a question, probably for Natalie, maybe for Adam. Natalie was on a string there for a while where she was, I'm going to give it 3 episodes and then I might be out. And then, of course, that 3rd episode was one she didn't find very effective. So, Natalie, did this one work for you? And are you still in? I mean, we're 5 episodes deep now.
I'm out.
Truly?
True. I mean, I'll probably keep watching it because it'll be on something to watch on TV, but I'm not.
Sure.
I don't think it's that good.
Okay.
But that's just
even this episode.
I mean, it's all just very fine. And for it to be a genre that I'm not thrilled about anyways, I don't know that I can get really invested in something that I just think is fine.
I understand that.
I did have the thought watching these 2 episodes, especially the last episode, was that this isn't going to change anyone's mind. Like, if you liked it, you're going to like this episode. If you didn't like it,
Well, and
not going to
it's,
do anything for you.
Blaine, you mentioned a little bit earlier about this, like, we're getting these episode to maybe 2 episode long arcs of introducing new characters, their story is told, Ellie and Joel move on, which to me reminded me very much of video game quests. And it's just not working for me as a television show.
I can see that. Do you think that's going to change though once they get to? It seems like the next episode is going to be based in Wyoming, and can they do that kind of writing with Tommy, the brother? Do they just throw him away too?
I don't.
Does he get killed?
I don't know, but
I don't either.
I don't know. It's just not working for me, and I have very low standards.
It does seem like the show is interested in having Joel and Ellie be the core.
But I don't even think their chemistry is that good.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I see. I do.
I know.
I like them a lot.
I told Adam when we started watching episode 4, I guess, Pedro Pascal has better chemistry with Grogu than he does with Ellie at this point.
Grogu while he's wearing his helmet, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tough.
I did like the bit where Ellie's like, he just has an asshole voice. He just sounds like that. He just has an asshole voice.
I did like that.
That was good. Yeah, she's doing really great. I think.
I'm more on Blaine's side with. I think they have chemistry.
I think it picked up. Episode 5, I think, was their strongest episode together as a pair. But why did it take 5 episodes?
Well, they were kind of feeling each other out.
I mean, but no.
Adam, where are you? You like it? You don't like it? We're 5 episodes in. I think we can make a fair judgment now.
I think that not to make everything like music with my analogies, but this is almost like when you hear about a band that everybody loves or whose fans are super annoying, and it almost turns you off, or it makes you think more critically about that band, where if you just had it on the surface level, you may have just dug it and been, this is fine. People reacted so well to the first episode and then to Nick Offerman's episode that I think I'm judging it more harshly than I would if I hadn't seen that reaction and if it wasn't in the Sunday night HBO slot. Judged by those merits, I find the show a little lacking. Judged on its own, so in a fair way, it's solid. Yeah. I don't think it's like going to change the world or anything, or be one of my favorite shows that I watched this year. But I mean, I'm definitely not looking at my phone while it's on. If we want to use our tried and true, is this at least entertaining? You know, I don't find things compelling or entertaining that use narrative tricks. And I'm not saying that it's like a trick kind of show, but like it doesn't impact me that much that, of course, they have to shoot the kid at the end of episode 5. Like you can kind of see these beats coming. You know what I mean? And like when people talk about like, well, that show's great. Game of Thrones is great because who knew they were going to kill Ned Stark at the end of you know what I mean? Those kind of things are like, they lose their value to me. And the show seems to be bouncing from one to the next of those kind of gut-wrenching moments. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm with you. And I might be a notch above that. Just a notch above. I'm giving a lot of credit for just something like that suspense that it created in the scene where Pascal was in the house upstairs and using the gun as a sniper to ward off, the monsters, the clickers. That was a good 15-minute suspenseful chunk of time where I was entertained.
Totally. And that scene, y'all were talking about his chemistry with Bella Ramsey and the characters kind of growing towards each other, and it is a post-apocalyptic story, so illustrating their developing relationship via him shooting monsters out of her way and them working in sync in that scene was a lot of fun. Like I'll go there and be into that as a storytelling device. I guess I'm just saying I'm back to how I grade things. This is like a C plus right now for me,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah.
In that it is entertaining. I'm compelled, but when people made it out to be like this, I mean, it's a very good genre piece to me at the moment. Maybe it'll do something to transcend that, but that's all it is for me right now.
I think of it as like a band like Spoon has just put out an album,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that it's not going to change the world, but it's going to be really solid. Like they're
Yeah.
just at that point in their career where it's really solid. And I feel like this one for me is like it's not going to change my world, but yeah, like what you said as a genre exercise, it's fun, sort
Mm-hmm.
of.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun until it's sad.
A throwaway line from a character like Henry deepens my intrigue, and I'll give credit for it for doing this, is when he's shocked that they have killed or come across two clickers and survived. It lays some rules down and takes away that Walking Dead sort of arena where everyone can kill these things and it's just common. I thought
Right.
that was a bit of wordplay that was interesting.
Well,
I,
and it was world building in two ways. It makes them more impressive. The fact that they've survived this long and are clearly outliers in badassery, but also it illustrates the Kansas City thing of like this hasn't the issues have been all human
mm-hmm,
for 15 years.
mm-hmm.
Like they've lived basically in a clickerless world, which was kind of intriguing. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was grounded to have the resistance in Kansas City be just as bad or worse than the authoritarians who were in charge.
So like in the game, they're being chased
Hmm.
by the army, right? Like that's part of the game.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Like that to me, I think that's why I actually liked episode 5 more than any of the other episodes because there was
Yeah.
this human element to the villain, and I wasn't scared the whole time. Like I wasn't stressed out watching the show thinking something's going to pop around the corner.
This is a huge part of why
Yeah,
she doesn't like this
100%.
show.
And I said that last week too. Yeah.
Henry's revealed that he gave up or killed that leader who was Kathleen's brother. It made her offhand remark about she was really disparaging with her tone about doing things for medicine at the very beginning, which felt weird. And then later on, it adds some fear to it, I suppose. So, I thought that was good. There's something incredibly more sad about Sam having to write "Stay awake with me" rather than speak it or even sign it to Ellie. So that kind of got me a little as far as an emotional punch.
It was fun too to see, not fun, fun is the wrong word. It was good writing.
Hmm.
They've been playing with her. You talked about the idea of like innocence persisting
Yeah.
in these kind of dire circumstances. To see her light up about like a comic book and connect with the more kid side of her, but then to do this very innocent thing of like, well, maybe if I just cut my hand and smear my blood on his
Hmm.
wound, that'll solve the problem. And like that it didn't work was good. Like
Yeah.
if she could just start saving people that way, that I'm not sure that's a great show, but the fact that she tried and then the last thing she writes is I'm sorry,
Hmm.
that's pretty good. See, that's more to me that's more affecting than when the kid's going crazy and they have to shoot it and then Henry kills himself.
Were you surprised by any of that? Like, I'll give you some things that I think were meant to be surprising, and you tell me. The resistance leader Kathleen dying was one. Not having a drawn out 2 or 3 episode arc where they are captured by the Kansas City resistance and held captive. Then you got Ellie's blood not working for Sam or Henry shooting himself. Did any of that shock you at all?
I was surprised. I thought they have told us we're going to Wyoming so much and now we're going to be stuck in Kansas City for like the meat of the show could happen here and it would have been a good HBO bait and switch kind of thing. So I was surprised that they got away that easily. Everything else was kind of predictable.
I was a little bit surprised that the leader of the resistance went down as
Right,
quickly
right, right.
and the way she did. It's not like a long drawn out. She doesn't get to really act that much. She just gets jumped on,
Yeah.
which was kind of great. I mean,
By a kid, no less.
yeah, when you see like
Kids don't matter.
when you see Sam's bite, right, you're like, oh, of course that's gonna. It was kind of like when Tessa got bit. It's like, we know this game is about two characters, right? It's survival horror. No one's gonna stick around for long, so that wasn't super surprising to me that the Henry and Sam were removed really quickly.
I did think episode 5 was the best one because it was a horror show that's more harrowing than scary. That's the realized version of this show. It's the actions of the humans because of their environment rather than boo.
Yeah,
I am kind
absolutely.
of intrigued by what you brought up there, Blaine, where it's like, in this world, yeah, it's sort of a zombie apocalypse, but people can live, survive, and even thrive in this world. Like Fedra and Kansas City got all the clickers to be underground. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, the different ways that like we get shown people live with this disease. It's kind of like, I mean, not to be too on the nose, but like, it kind of reminded me of COVID. There's ways to live with it. Like, you can wear a mask, you can have tests, like you can do all that kind of stuff, but it's still like affecting your life. And
You're
I
telling
thought that
me.
was kind of interesting.
What, 4 more episodes? 4 more. I think there are 9 in the first season. We'll probably return to it. I don't see why not. Might talk some shrinking. The show, Apple TV Plus, if anyone else wants to join us there.
It is still wintertime after all.
There you go. That's the end of our show this week. We'll continue the conversation online if you so desire. We're on Instagram and Twitter. Taking It Down Pod is where you find us there. We do have a Facebook group for television discussion or movie, music, whatever. It's just Taking It Down. And then, of course, there's the Alabama Tape, always on social media, and it gives you a big overview of everything happening Alabama Tape related or produced. So let's talk again next week. And I don't know who won the Super Bowl. Are we? Way to go, Eagles! Good job. Or
Are we making our predictions?
Are we doing like a Simpsons-esque thing where we like cover our mouths in the animation and you dub it in later?
Yes, exactly. Because
Congratulations to the Denver Broncos.
Exactly. All right. Talk to everyone later.